On this episode of Cape Media News, the Steamship Authority's high-speed ferry crashes into a Hyannis breakwater. JetBlue touches down on the tarmac at Barnstable Municipal Airport, and tens of thousands of people head to Main Street Hyannis for the annual Father's Day car show. These stories and more, this is Cape Media News. This is Cape Media News, your local authentic newscast focusing on the issues of importance to Cape Codders. In this episode, we'll look at a harrowing high-speed ferry crash, take you inside the Homeless Not Hopeless operation as they prepare to expand, and share information about an upcoming forum that focuses on scams and consumer protection. We've also got some footage from the annual Father's Day car show. I'm Sarah Colvin, and this is Cape Media News. 55 people were aboard the Steamship Authority's high-speed vessel Hyannis when it crashed into the Hyannisport breakwater Friday night. The vessel hit the jetty and grounded on the rocks. A helicopter crew from Coast Guard Air Station Cape Cod medevaced 5 injured passengers and brought 10 uninjured passengers who were unable to navigate the jetty's rocks to rescue boats. Response boat crews from Coast Guard stations Woods Hole, Chatham, and Brant Point rescued the remaining passengers. The cause of the grounding remains under investigation. The ferry, though, was being piloted by an experienced team. The Steamship Authority's high-speed ferry service is running on an abbreviated schedule. You want to check their website for details. Yarmouth police arrested 2 Boston area drug dealers on Friday at around 1:30 in the afternoon. Yarmouth police saw a vehicle turn into the driveway of 19 Checkerberry Lane in West Yarmouth. Now, that residence had been an ongoing problem house for Yarmouth police and families in the neighborhood as people living in the residence were involved in the distribution of heroin and crack cocaine. The residence had been evicted 2 weeks ago, which is why it was suspicious when a car pulled into the driveway Friday afternoon. That's when Yarmouth police arrested 26-year-old Demetrius Benet of Boston and 26-year-old Jamone Mobley, also of Boston. They seized 18 bags of crack cocaine, 1 bag of powdered cocaine, and 44 pills that were an acetaminophen oxycodone mix. Both were scheduled for arraignment today in Barnstable District Court. JetBlue is back for season number 4 here on Cape Cod. The first plane of the year touched down on the tarmac last Thursday at Barnstable Municipal Airport. JetBlue's seasonal service between JFK Airport in New York and Barnstable Municipal Airport in Hyannis is underway for a 4th season. The first Embraer E190 touched down on the tarmac at Barnstable Municipal Airport on Thursday, June 15th.
No, it's wonderful that they're coming back for their 4th season. We're so happy that they're here. We just had hoped that they would start earlier this year. Last year they started on May 15th, and this year June 15th. So we were hoping that they would be able to continue to expand their coverage here in the shoulder seasons, but their numbers and their need for aircraft at other locations said otherwise. If we can, we're working to get them to come. We'd love to have them come year-round. We're just so happy that they're here. This is their 4th year. They're still flying the same plane, an Embraer E190, 100 passengers, and looked pretty full today. I'm not sure what the exact number was that got off, but I'd say it was probably close to 80 to 90 people got off that plane. So that was good. Those are good numbers. The other airlines are interested. We participated in a conference last week called Jumpstart in Providence, and we met with 7 other airlines, and we're trying to induce these other airlines to come to this airport and to go from here to other hubs as necessary. Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Toronto, anything we can get to get some customers. We think that there's a market here on the Cape. And I just need to get airlines here on a more consistent basis.
More airlines could mean more tourism for Cape Cod.
It could. If we get more airlines to come in, we should be able to get, I think, more business and would help bring in more people to the Cape. If you're from New York, wouldn't you rather take a 45-minute flight than a 5-hour drive? So that's the argument that we're using, and hopefully we'll be able to do that with other locations as well, like if you're from Philadelphia or D.C. or Toronto or some other place.
Inbound flights from New York are scheduled to arrive in Hyannis at 12:17 p.m. daily. Flights are due to depart for New York at 12:54. Daily flights will be offered through September 8th. Up next, Doug, the prognosticating quahog, will unveil his predictions for Cape Cod summer. Each week, Cape Media News pays a visit to the MSPCA Animal Shelter at 1577 Falmouth Road in Centerville. Mac Daddy is a pug waiting for his new forever home.
He is 10 years old, and he hasn't been with us very long. He came to us under very sad circumstances. The owner's wife died, and he did not have any housing. And so he thought of us and brought him to us, and we're grateful that he did. And so far, Mac Daddy has adjusted absolutely beautifully. He loves everybody. He doesn't mind cats. He seems to like other dogs. I think he would do well in almost any home. He is on the older side, so any owner would need to make sure that they could manage any upcoming medical needs that he might have. And as you know, pugs tend to have those, especially later in life. But
Sure.
He is just an awesome dog with a great personality, and he's a love bug. So we hope someone will come and adopt him today.
Construction is underway on the MSPCA's brand new adoption center.
So the project has started, and we're incredibly excited. And we're hoping that 12 months from now, we will be in a brand new facility. All of this will be the area, the footprint for the new adoption center. And we will keep open our current adoption center until the day that we move the animals, like Noah's Ark, from there into our new space. More natural light, more space for the animals to get comfortable, move around. But we'll also have a huge education area where we'll have training classes on dog behavior. We'll also have a summer camp for kids. We're going to expand our education and community-based programs. So that will be a whole new area of programming for us. We're so excited.
We also had a chance to meet Alice. She's a cancer survivor who belongs to a staff member at the MSPCA.
She is a breast cancer survivor, and she wasn't supposed to make it more than a few months, and she's been going strong for 3 years. So we do emphasize the importance of spaying and neutering animals, and spaying a female can help prevent breast cancer. So, but Alice is doing great, and she's adored by everybody on the staff, and of course by her mom.
Hard to believe it with all these gray days we've been having, but Wednesday is the first day of summer, and Cape Cod's prognosticating quahog Doug will be coming in by boat at the Blue Water Resort in South Yarmouth. He'll provide his prediction for summer beach days on Cape Cod. The annual tradition has become a rite of passage into summer for Cape Codders. Doug secretly whispers his prediction into the ear of his human sidekick, Captain Johnny Quahog of Quahog Republic. NBC Boston meteorologist Michael Page will host the festivities. The event kicks off at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, June 21st on the beach at the Blue Water Resort in South Yarmouth. Three Bays Preservation is changing its name. That local advocacy organization will become the Barnstable Clean Water Coalition. An event celebrating the change is set for this Friday, June 23rd at the Nauticus Marina in Osterville. The group is shifting its focus to the restoration and preservation of clean water in Barnstable. It will be led by incoming Executive Director Zenas Crocker. Well, did you know the Massachusetts Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulations is in place to protect you against things like scams, identity theft, data breach reporting, and more? Well, John Chapman, Undersecretary of the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation, along with a panel of state officials and experts, are hosting a public forum tomorrow at Barnstable Town Hall. It's designed to help you learn what your state government does to help consumers every day. That forum begins at 11 a.m. inside Barnstable Town Hall, 367 Main Street in Hyannis. The public is encouraged to attend. The Cape Cod Commission is hosting its One Cape Summit this Thursday and Friday in Hyannis. I recently caught up with Cape Cod Commission Deputy Director Christy Senatori to outline the day. For Cape Media News, I'm Sarah Colvin. Coming up on June 22nd and 23rd, the Cape Cod Commission and the Nature Conservancy are planning the One Cape Summit. Day one focusing on water resources, day two focusing on housing. Joining me today to talk about this two-day event, I welcome Deputy Director of the Cape Cod Commission, Christy Senatori. Christy, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, Sarah.
So tell me a little bit, this is the third or fourth year the One Cape Summit has happened. Which year are we in?
This is our fourth year that we'll be hosting our One Cape Summit. It's an annual conference that we've held primarily focusing on water quality and wastewater since the implementation and initiation of our 208 update.
Sure, and so the 208 plan, that was in, remind me again, that was 2 years ago that the 208 plan was updated and working towards implementation of that. And so I would assume that day one, as we're focusing on water quality, going to hear a little bit of updates on how we're progressing in the standards set forth there.
Yeah, exactly. So in 2015, our 208 area-wide water quality management plan was approved by the US EPA and the governor of Massachusetts. And since that time, we've been really working with communities to make sure that progress is being made and wastewater plans are being implemented across the Cape. So day one of the conference, you'll really hear about some of the progress that's being made in a lot of these watersheds.
Great. I think we definitely have seen some progress. We've seen towns really working together in terms of collaboration, which I know was a big issue because, as we know, the watersheds don't have town boundaries. Lots of them are shared within town, so we've seen some collaboration. And then, of course, we have the Blue Economy Project as well, and that's going to be part of a little bit of the opening on Thursday, June 22nd, is the Blue Economy Project.
Yes. So we're excited to have the Blue Economy Innovation Showcase, which is a partnership between the Blue Institute, Newen, and the Blue Economy with the Cape Cod Chamber. So they'll be having a showcase, a trade show of tables and people that are going to be there kind of sharing their experiences around the Blue Economy. But we're excited also during that day to talk about shared watershed progress. Like you mentioned, 2/3 of the watersheds on the Cape cross municipal boundaries. So it's really important for these communities to work together. And we're seeing a lot of progress being made in these shared watersheds. And so we're going to highlight some of the progress that's been made. You also mentioned the Nature Conservancy. They have been awarded a grant through the SNEP program, which is part of the US EPA. And they'll be also showcasing some of the work that they've been doing, taking the principles of 208 and applying those to a Taunton River watershed. So we'll be able to hear back from some of the work that they've done as well.
Wonderful. And we really have not just local leaders, but state leaders that are coming to this day one as well to talk about and to share information. So why is it important to bring all of this leadership together on a day like this to talk about this issue that is really so impactful to us here on Cape Cod?
I mean, water quality and wastewater really is our #1 economic issue on the Cape. It's an environmental issue, but it really does cross that economic boundary. So it's really important that leaders across the Cape and the statewide leaders are engaged on the issue. So we're excited and pleased that Secretary Matt Beaton of Energy and Environment is going to be providing one of our keynote addresses on the first day.
Wonderful. So we've got Matt Beaton, Deborah Zappo, I believe, is the acting administrator for the EPA Region 1.
Yeah.
So important to have the Environmental Protection Agency there, of course, members of the Cape Cod Commission. And then there's the local elected officials all get together on that day as well.
Right. So the evening on that first day, which is June 22nd, we'll be hosting our 3rd annual All Cape Selectmen and Councilors meeting. So all 83 elected officials across the Cape have been invited, and we'll convene them in a session. They'll hear from regulators from EPA and DEP, and also have an opportunity to talk amongst themselves in shared watersheds and really come together on the same page around water quality issues on the Cape.
Sure. So really, again, putting a focus on that regional effort to say that this isn't just a problem that's affecting Barnstable or Truro or Bourne, it's affecting all of us as Cape Codders.
Right, exactly. And we're actually very pleased also to have Senator DiMacedo that will be providing one of our keynote addresses on that evening as well.
Wonderful. Let's talk about day two, because this is of course another big issue on Cape Cod is housing. And so in past years, the One Cape Summit really has been kind of hyper-focused on the water quality issues, but now we're bringing housing into the fold. So tell me a little bit about why you decided to bring housing into the One Cape Summit this year.
We are taking a little bit of a different turn this year. So the second day will be focusing primarily on housing and then also on capital infrastructure. So as the wastewater discussion has evolved, we're really talking about how can we make the costs more affordable to those 216,000 year-round residents that live and work on the Cape. And so if we can focus activity in economic centers and activity centers, and we can increase density, we can show how the decreased costs around infrastructure can actually happen. So we're in the process also of updating our regional policy plan. So we'll be introducing the idea of these activity centers. And so housing is key to that discussion and regional infrastructure and keeping some of those costs down. It's difficult to actually talk about regional infrastructure without talking about housing and wastewater at the same time. So it just made sense for the conference to evolve into this day too.
Of course, because if we're going to be looking at creating more housing, perhaps increasing density, that has an impact on wastewater. It has an impact on adding, more perhaps treatment systems or more things that are going into the wastewater system. So you do really have to look at those two items in a connected way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're also looking at housing from a different lens, and not necessarily capital A affordable housing, but really that missing middle. And so we're in the midst of doing a demand study for the region, and so we'll be sharing some of those results during the second day of the conference. And so it's really going to be taking a look at what are the needs for housing on the Cape and where do we need to direct that type of growth.
Sure, and can we talk a little bit more about this missing middle? Because to me, it's so fascinating, because we do have, the affordable housing cluster where you do have to, meet certain income requirements or income limitations, and then there's the seasonal homeowners or the more pricey homes. But there is that kind of the young professional middle where you might be making too much money to qualify for affordable housing, but not enough to pay for a high rent or a high mortgage. So it's been interesting to see the different things that people have been working on to kind of say, okay, how can we make this more attractive? How can we make it easier and more affordable for our young upwardly mobile professionals to live here on Cape Cod and also fill out all those jobs that we need to fill out as well? Yeah,
that's a really important point. And also, the Cape primarily has one type of home, or one type of housing, and that's really single-family homes. I think almost 90% of the homes on Cape Cod are single-family homes. So even providing a variety of housing types is going to be important as we try to attract different diversity to the region, different ages. We have an aging population as well that may not even want to stay in their single-family home. So how can we make it affordable for them to stay here, not necessarily in the type of housing that they're currently in?
Sure, and so on that day too, the results of the Regional Housing Market Demand Study will be gone over, and I've seen a little bit of gotten a little preview of that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, the results that came out of that study. We've seen a lot of studies on housing, but there's some data that's included in this, and it really, to me, gives us a blueprint for moving forward in a way that we did not have before.
Yeah, so we're excited to share some of those results, and then also talk about regional capital infrastructure, which is going to be a large component of our updated regional policy plan. So that's what we intend to spend the afternoon talking about.
Great. So, Chrissy, who should come to the One Cape Summit?
Well, certainly we're looking for decision makers and municipal employees, municipal staff to attend, but it's really open to the general public. So anyone has an interest in water quality, wastewater infrastructure, and then certainly in housing and capital infrastructure, we would welcome their attendance. It's at the Resort and Conference Center, so we have room for anyone who's really interested in attending. So we will hopefully have registration going as close to the date as we possibly can if we don't sell out. But we're really hoping that as many people who are interested in these issues are able to attend.
Sure, there's always so many fascinating conversations, both as a part of the regular program and then offline as well, when you get all of these stakeholders and interested citizens, local leaders together talking about issues that we are all passionate about and that affect us. I think it goes a long way to kind of finding those solutions. Have you found that in the past years that you've been doing the One Cape Summit, kind of bringing all of these people together for a common cause has done a lot to bolster the conversation, not just in these 2 days, but really throughout the region?
It really has, and honestly, we're excited to see so much progress being made. It's amazing where we are in the wastewater conversation today from where we were even 3, 4, 5 years ago. So it's nice to see the conversations evolving throughout the year, not just at the conference, obviously, but then in the intervening months, and so it's exciting to see the progress that's being made.
Great, and it is free to attend, correct?
It is free.
Great. Christy, anything else about the One Cape Summit that you feel our viewers should be aware of?
No, we're just excited to host this 4th annual conference, and we look forward to participation.
Great. Well, Christy, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you. My guest today has been Christy Senatori. She's the Deputy Director of the Cape Cod Commission. The One Cape Summit coming up on June 22nd and 23rd at the Resort and Conference Center in Hyannis. You can find more information online at capecodcommission.org/OneCape. For Cape Media News, I'm Sarah Colvin. For nearly a decade, Homeless Not Hopeless has been helping those in need on Cape Cod. And with the purchase of a new home, they'll be able to help out even more.
Back in '91, they called me and a few other people that were homeless the worst of the worst. But you know what? It's come to fruition. This worst is taking the worst of the worst. The people who need it the most. Yeah. That's who we help, the people who need it the most.
Homeless Not Hopeless is an organization built by formerly homeless people helping those in need move forward with transitional housing, focusing on education, life skills, and job skills.
I'll never forget the day that we rented 2 houses on Ocean Street. And I guess my higher power was with me because homeless people on Ocean Street, well, this gentleman pulled in the driveway and yelled out, "Hey, Billy." I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Homeless people on Ocean Street, you won't last too much. You're gonna fall flat on your face." 10 years later, here we are.
And 10 years later, Homeless Not Hopeless operates 4 homes in Hyannis, the most recent, a purchase on Chase Street.
We take the people off the street, try to get them healthy, get them back to work is the most important thing.
This is a tremendous value, and it's all based on people doing the right thing for other people to make Cape Cod a better place, to make Hyannis a better place, and in the end, actually, as he said, feel good about yourself as you help other people.
I get a lot of joy out of just seeing people come in here that are broken, and when they come in, and then to watch them leave, going back to their families, getting their lives back together, putting themselves, and they're a lot happier people when they leave here than when they were when they came here. It just, I don't know, it just brings tears to my eyes sometimes.
But there are some concerns about the growth of Homeless Not Hopeless, especially with the purchase of the Chase Street property. Barnstable Town Councilor Jen Cullum chairs the committee to assess homelessness. She says Hyannis is at a saturation point.
We're starting to push back a little bit and ask for some questions and ask them to qualify answers. And typically it's always the same thing, which is that, all the services are located in Hyannis. You have the sewers in Hyannis, it's the transportation. But the committee's really been looking at those 3 stumbling blocks and kind of unplugging them one by one and really picking them apart. So Tom here came and told us that, the CRT can go anywhere. We have clinics down Cape that can help manage methadone issues. We have sewers in other areas on the Cape. So they're really becoming non-issues for the committee, and we see it now as our role to help other towns overcome those obstacles and help share the burden with us, because it can't just be a burden that's borne solely on one village in Barnstable.
In the past, those opposed to having Homeless Not Hopeless as neighbors have turned around to help the organization.
Once people get by that resistance, they find, oh, maybe I was wrong. Maybe they are human beings, and then they're proud of it. They're proud of it. Like with the same energy that they use to fight us moving into a place, they turn that into the energy to support us.
All of the houses we've gone into, we've had resistance. Like Jeff said, that one of the houses, the guys came over and they plowed the driveway out. We have a neighbor here that we had a fellow that was mowing on the grass for us that lives here, went ill and had to go into the hospital for a while. And the man next door come over here on his ride on lawnmower and mowed the grass. And he's the one that started the petition in the neighborhood when he found out we were going to move here.
Cullum agrees that Homeless Not Hopeless has had much success, but she still wants to see growth outside the village of Hyannis.
We are hard-pressed to find a more successful organization. And in saying that our major goal is to get the services to the people who need the services and vice versa, we can't then say that they're not a worthy organization. I think what we need is maybe regional entities to join hands and maybe help guide organizations like Homeless Not Hopeless to do what they want to do. We're not saying it's not good work. It's good work. We're saying that 5 in 1 precinct of 3,500 people is too much.
Homeless Not Hopeless plans to open the doors at the new Chase Street residence this September. The committee to assess homelessness continues its work to help connect services and find solutions outside the town of Barnstable. The annual Father's Day car show on Main Street, Hyannis, has become a tradition for many, with tens of thousands of dads, moms, sons, daughters, and even dogs crowding Main Street to take a look at all of the vintage and souped-up automobiles. The event is organized by the Greater Hyannis Chamber of Commerce. This year's event featured more than 300 cars parked along Main Street in Hyannis. We'll be back Wednesday with more Cape Media News. I'm Sarah Colvin.